My name is Rebecca Burkhardt. I currently work at the National Hockey League. I'm coming up on 4 years with the NHL. I spent the first 3 years in our partnership marketing department, and the last year I've been in our club business affairs group. So I work with all 32 of our NHL clubs in many, many different ways. Um, and I'll back up a little bit. I am a graduate of the West Virginia University Sport Management Program, class of 2014. I feel old.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and from there I made the decision to go to grad school. And I'll often talk to students about this too, who are maybe in a similar situation or considering what they want to do with their career post graduation. Is it go to grad school or is it go right into the job search? And I say it's like different for everyone. For me, it made the most sense to go to grad school. I wasn't quite sure exactly what I wanted to do in sports. I wanted to buy myself more time and
Mhm.
allow myself the opportunity to try out different internships, part-time jobs, just to get more exposure in different areas and really try again to figure out what I wanted to do. So I went to grad school. I did the University of Central Florida, their dual degree program. So I got my MBA and then my master's in sport business management. And it was important to me to get a degree, the MBA with a more business focus, just
Yeah.
a broaden my education outside of just sport management. And then from there, I did ticket sales at the San Jose Sharks and then managed the season ticket holder base at the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I got team experience in two different sports and then found myself back in hockey, but at the league level. So,
Yeah. I relate to you a lot about the master's thing because I graduate in May and I'm trying to figure out if I just want to like go jump into it or get a master's, but I think I'm leaning towards an MBA, like as you said, get that more like business focus. So I appreciate you saying that because I can relate to that.
and sorry, wait, I want to back up for a second. Did you say you want this to be more conversation based, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's such listen, I am so thankful for every opportunity that was presented to me from West Virginia University and University of Central Florida. And I think that sport management programs are definitely important. Like
Hmm.
that's how I got really my first understanding of jobs in the business side of sports. Growing up in middle school and high school, like I don't know what jobs are in the front office. Like I
Yeah.
know the Aaron Andrews of the world and I know like the Sage Steels and the sports anchors,
Hmm.
but I didn't know the nitty gritty. And so going to a sport management program in college allowed me that opportunity to learn more about the positions in the sports world. So I wouldn't have that knowledge, I guess, if it wasn't for the sport management program. But
Hmm.
I also think it's equally beneficial to get education outside of just the sports classes. Like,
Yeah.
there's something to be said about I think it's great to have a balance anywhere. Like I think my most brilliant coworkers are ones who come to the NHL from outside the sports world, who like
Hmm.
worked at a
Yeah.
marketing agency or have 10 years of experience outside of sports because they're bringing a different perspective into the industry.
Yeah.
So I think you're a little bit more well-rounded if you get an MBA or you have a marketing degree or you have even a finance degree, but you still specialize in sport management or something like that. Sorry, that's a
Yeah.
really long-winded point of saying I think it's really smart to get to be a little more well-rounded than just
No,
focusing
I totally
all your
get that.
education.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Um, so I guess going back, so you work for the NHL, you've worked there for a bit now, like kind of like what I guess I've always wondered like what makes people think like pick a certain route or like why the NHL? Like what is it about the culture, like the workplace that really like entices you about that?
I have said this since I was in grad school. I did not care what sport I worked in. And I still mean that to this day. I could work in any sport and I don't care. Like that is not a value that is when I'm looking for a job, whether it was my first one out of grad school or any of my subsequent moves since then, the sport was never high up on my list. I
Mhm.
cared more about leadership is so important for me. So
Yeah.
who's going to be my boss? Like, what kind of leader are they? And like, I cared more about the opportunity and what I was going to be doing. And the sport was like, honestly, never even a consideration of mine.
Hmm.
Like, I enjoy working in hockey, and I think the NHL is a great place to work. But if I had these same coworkers working at the MLS, I would love it just the same. So like,
Yeah.
I didn't pick a job for the sport that it was. I picked it for what the opportunity was. And the NHL, and it's also funny, like every time I switched jobs, I stayed at that place a little longer.
Hmm.
So I was at the Sharks for a year and a half, the Steelers 2.5 years, now here almost 4 years, and I don't think I'm leaving anytime soon. So the NHL is a great uh, place to work. I love working here. I have great teammates. I think the culture is really good. I think it's an exciting time, candidly. Well, I should say, I know I'm biased because I work in the sport industry, but I think it's a really exciting time to work in sports right now.
Yeah.
It looks a lot different than it does even. I started working in sports full time January of 2016 is when I started with the San Jose Sharks. So even in the almost 7 years, I've seen so many changes in the industry, and I think this is a really exciting time. Like,
Hmm.
executives from the top down to entry level, everyone is being challenged to rethink about the game day experience. What do our fans look like?
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
so
we
true.
have to, if we're truly doing our job, we're marketing the game to any gender and any age, from, you know, children up to the older generation. And that's not an easy thing to do, because you typically have the older generation that's more traditional, but the younger audience and the Gen Z engages with the sport in a much different way. So I
Yeah.
think it's challenging us to approach working in this industry in a
Hmm.
different way, if
I can
that
get,
makes sense.
yes, it does. I can get that because I actually intern with the marketing department here, and I mean, we look at all that like daily, just like how different people are wanting sports now. Like it's kind of like a free for all, but and how to
Yeah.
like present that to them. So I
And how
really,
they're consuming it, whether it's
yeah,
from streaming. And it's
streaming,
my
yeah.
dad my dad loves hockey. I was born in Pittsburgh, so we're Pittsburgh Penguins fans. My dad does not want to watch a game on a streaming service. He's like, "Why? I don't want to watch it on ESPN Plus or Hulu." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Dad, I can give you my account." And he's like, "I don't care. Like, I don't want to stream a game." Like, he's in that old school generation that wants to watch it on his local TV station and will
yeah.
not want to adapt. But then I'm a cord cutter. I don't have cable. Like, I have YouTube TV and all these other
Yeah.
subscriptions, but I don't have an actual cable provider. So
Hmm.
you need to make sure that you're, again, engaging with all different types of audiences.
Hmm. So going back to, I guess, like your time here at WVU, like what did that look like? Did you like take advantage of like certain opportunities that really like helped you like get ahead in your career or what?
Sorry, I don't know if it was your internet or mine, but it paused for a moment. Can you repeat
Oh,
the
okay.
question?
Yes. So looking back at your time here at like WVU, did you take advantage of any like opportunities or like what helped you kind of like succeed in like this industry?
I think, and I'll preface it by saying this too. I think like, I'm so proud of what I've seen, how the sport management program has changed since I graduated 10 years ago, and in a good way. And one of the reasons why and I mentioned this when I guest spoke with, I think it was last semester. One of the reasons too why I felt I needed to go to grad school is I still didn't have a good idea of what the heck I wanted to do or how to get started. Like, what are the entry level positions? And I know
Yeah.
that I started in ticket sales, but when I left West Virginia, I didn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I actually said I don't want to do ticket sales, and this is why I'm going to go to grad school, because how else do people get started?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that was a really big challenge, was knowing, like, okay, if you want to be a CMO, like a chief marketing officer, or like maybe I want to work in legal, or whatever it is, it just seemed like I didn't know how to get started or what kind of job to even look for. Like, what is a job title of an entry level position, or
Yeah.
internships or stuff like that. So I just felt so lost. And that's a reason why I felt like I needed to go to grad school, just to prepare myself a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more. And I think now, so I don't feel like there was a lot of opportunities for me in the sport management program at the time,
Yeah.
However, now I think there are. The fact that there's speakers,
Yes, absolutely.
I encourage that, and that's why I'm always willing to volunteer to talk to students because I
Hmm.
see the value in having speakers from the sport industry come and talk.
Yeah.
That's something that my sport management master's program grad school did was have a speaker series, and that's where I learned the most. Like asking questions, hearing them talk, hear about their career path, and then staying connected with them after the fact too. If there's someone whose career path really resonated with me or something that they said, advice that they gave, like I took their business card and I absolutely reached like connected with them because and it's not like I wanted to ask them to help get a job. It was just I wanted to pick their brain because I felt
Hmm.
so lost.
Yeah.
So I would encourage those opportunities, talk with the the speakers that come through it. That's like that to me is one of the most important things. Leveraging alumni of the program who've graduated from West Virginia would be a huge resource and trying get involved in as many different internships or part-time jobs as you can. I
Yes.
know it's hard to sometimes and everyone's situation is different and you can't always do unpaid internships or jobs, but and it sucks to say this, but sometimes you have to do it just to get the experience. So in West Virginia, there's you have to drive a little bit if you want to get professional sports experience to the Steelers, Penguins, the Pirates, or even minor league teams. But if you have the means to do one of like an internship or a part-time job just to get a different kind of experience, I would recommend anyone take advantage of it. And at the very least, get involved in the athletic department
Hmm.
because they're always looking for interns and people to help. And I'm so glad that I did that because I thought that I wanted to, it gave me great exposure to college athletics.
Hmm. So did you like think about doing college athletics or?
I did actually. When I was at West Virginia, I loved the working in the marketing department so
Yeah.
much that I thought I did want to work in college athletics. And then I went to UCF, which is a newer university.
Hmm.
So they didn't have as strong as an alumni backing as West Virginia did. So when I got to UCF and their football games had 2,000 people at it, like they didn't have a tailgate experience or their basketball games were a lot different. I mean, it may sound silly, but I realized I loved college athletics at West Virginia University. I didn't love college athletics at a UCF.
Yeah, that's so
It,
understandable.
like West Virginia made it really special.
Yeah. I was gonna
UCF did
say,
not.
because I've always wanted to work in college athletics and like working in the marketing department and like I could probably see like how special like W like game day is because it's a different atmosphere here. We don't have any professional sports, so they gotta go big. But yeah, that's an interesting standpoint though, that it's like different.
It is different. And there's something like I love college sports so much and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the fans are so passionate and a lot of times they're alumni like they have a stake. Like I paid a ton of money to West Virginia to go there. I'm going to support that team. Like
Yeah.
yes, I love this like I was born in Pittsburgh, so Steelers, Penguins, Pirates fans. Like I will support them, but I also didn't invest in them like I did at WVU. Again, like
Mm-hmm.
they have many of my dollars. Like I paid quite a bit to go there, so I feel like in a way that makes me more invested. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe I don't know, maybe I'm like one of the few people that thinks like that, but I think it's a different level of support college alumni networks and I'm sure SEC schools or like Big Ten schools,
Oh yeah, for sure.
same thing. Like working in those college athletic departments must be amazing. But yeah, UCF, I just didn't feel as strong as of a tie to
Mm-hmm.
the university.
So through all like your positions, like you work for the Sharks, the Steelers, and like now the NHL, is there any like position that like stands out to you and like what you learn like the most from it, like or anything?
It's interesting how I've had different roles. Like I've been on ticket sales and then I manage season ticket holders. And here at the NHL, I've switched 2 times. And now in my role that I'm in, most recently the club business affairs,
Mm-hmm.
I'm tying everything together.
Oh.
I touch ticket sales. Like I help work on the strategy behind like getting our clubs to sell more tickets and stuff like that, or our event sales strategy. I help with that. I also help still with partnership marketing, and like I'm tying things together from all of my jobs prior to this and kind of bundling it into one, which I thought that I took an unconventional career path going from, ticket sales into sponsorship and now like
Yeah.
a policy consulting strategy type role. Like, on paper, it looks like I'm really zigzagging, but I love that I'm tying together everything from my previous jobs because I like
Hmm.
them all and I learned such different skill sets from every position that I had. So I can't really say that one was a favorite or stands out more than the other because each one prepared me and taught me different things. But now I'm building on every role that I've had and tying it all together, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. And it's probably very rewarding for you to like find that you're like putting all these like skills together and
Yeah.
everything. Um, I guess going on that rewarding aspect, is there like a purpose that you feel like in your job? Are you like fulfilling that you've like, I don't know. I always ask people like, what is your purpose? Like, what are you doing to fulfill it? I like that question. But
Yeah. It's it's very timely of a question
mhm,
because so my department head who oversees the business affairs group, she's an executive vice president here at the league and she's incredible and just it takes a lot to get to her level in the sport industry and there's not a lot of females at her level with her
yeah.
experience and she recognizes that so she does a lot to mentor other women in sports. And we, right now, there's a program, it's called the Global Sport Mentoring Partnership. It's
Mhm.
like this international agency. So right now we're sponsoring someone from Fiji, and I don't know how old she is, but she's over here right now. She came yesterday for about 2.5 weeks. It's this whole elaborate program, and I'm trying to summarize. And what she's doing is trying to put together a program to take back to Fiji to elevate women's sports and mainly rugby because that's what she played
Mhm.
growing up. And it's sometimes I know I'm at fault for this, and I imagine others will feel the same way. You get tied up in a lot of the day to day. Like at the end of the day,
Mhm.
like our job is people's hobby. We're
Mhm.
not curing
Yeah.
cancer, or we're not saving lives. Like we're not doing any kind of like groundbreaking work. Like
Mhm.
sports is people's hobbies.
Yes.
And I say that because I also think that it's a huge platform to encourage, promote change or those other things. So I try to find opportunities for those more like feel good moments where it's, like I said, this woman is trying to like bring it back to Fiji, which is a third world country. So like listening to her business plan and how she's going to pull this all together, like that to me is so rewarding. Like it's like I get too caught up in the day to day sometimes where it's like, wait a second. Like, let me take a step back and remember why I got into sports. I got into sports because I wanted to do more with it than just, sell tickets or this or
Yeah.
that. Sorry, I know that's not really directly answering your question, is kind
No,
of long
I like
winded,
that.
but
Yeah.
I
Because I
like
think,
opportunities where, oh,
oh,
and another project that I worked on, sorry, I interrupted you.
no, you're
Another
good.
project that I helped with was get sensory kits into arenas and NHL events. So
Mhm.
they're mainly if there's children or adults, any age, who is on the autism spectrum or just has sensory overload. Maybe it's from the noises or anxiety or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, we did a partnership to get these sensory kits available and something that was never done before. So it's like, again, things like that where I can see the impact it has on people who wouldn't be able to enjoy a game otherwise.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. And because I know like sometimes I'll like talk to my friends that are like nursing majors and like they're in the medical field and they're like talking about how they're like helping people and stuff. But I like how you preface that sports is like it's a platform for change and just the diversity in it. And I think that's a really cool way to look at it. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for that.
Of course. So that's kind of like my why too, is I like to find those
Hmm.
opportunities where I can make it a little bit more rewarding.
Hmm. So is there any advice that you would give to like students? I don't know. You already said like make sure you take advantage of those
Yeah.
opportunities and getting involved. Is there any other like valuable piece of advice that anybody like gave you that was really like special for you and you like held on to it?
Not necessarily gave me, but like something that I wish that I would have done sooner is like you got to pay attention to what's going on. Like there's so many more or there's not a lot of unique ideas anymore. Like a lot of what teams do, they're stealing it from each other. Like we see what like the Cincinnati Bengals or the New Jersey Devils or like you see what other teams are doing and you it's like, wait, I wonder if something like that would work here, whether it's some kind of ticket sales package or what they're doing in their game presentation or whatever it is. It's a lot of like best practices and making it your own. So paying attention to like keeping a good pulse on the industry,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's tech related, um, or if, and again, I know that I said I wasn't specific, but some people, and it's okay if you'd rather want to work in the NFL or the NBA. Like it is okay to have a preference, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
okay to be like me, more, open. It doesn't,
Yeah.
it's individual preference. But I would keep close tabs on just what's going on in the industry and not even just professional sports. Like the NWSL is taking off, like women's sports in general is taking
Yeah.
off. Like rugby's
Absolutely.
about rugby's about to be in the Olympics in 2028 and is like huge internationally. So it's really keeping a pulse on again what's going on in the sports around the world, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
technology trends, uh, social media stuff. Like I'm still not on TikTok and I feel like I'm in the minority. But if you can subscribe to there's so many different sports newsletters, like
Yeah.
sports business, front
Mm-hmm.
office sports. I could name 100. I get all these emails every day. And I'll glance at the headlines and see what looks interesting. But I just wish that I had kept more of a pulse on the industry when I was
Yeah.
in college. Um, I think that's really helpful. And then, because you never know in interviews, like you can talk about like something that you saw, or
Mm-hmm.
again, I just think it'll help be better educated on what's going on. And then, and I know I said it earlier too, but networking and the conversations, because you never know how a classmate or a speaker that you connect with can help you later on
Yeah,
down the
for
road, or
sure.
your paths may cross again. So I would just network too.
Yeah. Um, Going back, so you did your master's at UCF. Did you like have any like GA position, any like were you working at the time while doing it? And just tell me more like about that.
I did arguably way too much when I was in grad school, but I told myself, I said, you know what? I'm here for a year and a half.
Yeah.
I can sleep once I get my first full-time job, but while I'm here, I'm going to work my butt off. And I'm going to say yes to every opportunity that's in front of me because I was just felt overwhelmed with not knowing what I wanted to do. So I said I'm going to do as many different part-time jobs, internships, shadow people, network, so I can try and figure it out. So I had a GA position for the whole time I was there. It was in their undergrad marketing department. They
Huh?
had a specialization called the professional selling program.
Hmm.
So people in the marketing department that wanted to go into sales, not sports sales, but like medical sales or tech
Oh, okay,
sales,
yeah.
like any of those other things. So I was the GA position for that department, and it was great. Like I actually loved it. So I had that. That was a minimum of 20 hours of work a week. I interned with the Orlando Magic on game days for the 2 seasons that I was there in different departments. One was like a game day events type internship, and another one was more ticket focused in their
Hmm.
premium club areas. I worked in the athletic department at UCF. I held a few different roles. I was in their communications department for the whole time I was there, and I loved it. That was the first time in my life I ever liked writing. I never liked writing until there because I was
Yeah,
always
I can
writing about
relate
things I
to
didn't care about. And then it's like finally like, oh, write this story on a football player or write this game
that.
recap on a volleyball game. I'm like, wait a second, like I actually liked it. I was writing about things that
Yeah.
I cared about. So I did that. I also worked in their marketing department, their donor relations club. I did an event internship at the arena that was on campus. I think that was it, but I did quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot. But it sounds like you got some like really great experience. Um, I guess like is there any advice to like looking for those like GA positions like when you're getting your master's?
Yeah, because it's definitely helpful because it subsidizes quite a bit of the cost,
Yeah.
especially if you're out of state, which I was, and that's really helpful. And I'm trying to remember how I got it, but it was so it was through the sport management program, did a really good job of helping set its students up with GA
Yeah.
positions. So I don't know how it is like at other universities. I think I was just really lucky that I was going to a program that was used to doing this for its incoming students.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry that I don't have more
Oh
advice
no,
there. It's
you're
definitely
fine.
beneficial if you can do it, but I feel like if you get to the point where you're applying to grad schools and you get accepted, like those are questions that should be covered or you can ask like right then is
Yeah.
how to go about finding those GA positions because it's definitely something I would recommend.
Oh yeah, for sure. But is okay, so whenever you're if you're like looking for employers or anything, is there anything that stands out to you from like a potential candidate?
Yes, and I talked about this when I spoke to the students. I think it was in the spring semester last year because I was in a position where I was hiring someone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a manager role open that reported to me, so I was going through the interview process, and I don't know if it's just not something that's taught anymore by in high school or in college. Like I don't know where like resume building fell off, but like I was flabbergasted by the number of younger people who submitted resumes that were 3 pages long.
Oh god.
Like I've worked in the sport industry now full time for 7 years and my resume is still 1 page.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't need to put your bartending jobs on here. Like there was one resume I looked at, someone put like their rover pet sitter on
Oh.
it. Like you don't need to put that you're a dog sitter on your resume and you're submitting me a resume that's 3 pages long. Like
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I'm still old school or traditional in that sense, but like I said, like I still think keep your resume to 1 page. And a piece of advice that I give people, like if I put when I was applying to jobs after grad school, you heard how many jobs I had in
Mm-hmm.
internships when I was in grad school. Do you think that that would fit on 1 page?
No.
Exactly. Same like and then you couple my experience at West Virginia, that's not going to be a resume that's 1 page.
Yeah.
So what I recommend to anyone who asks, I will tell them, have a master resume where
Mm-hmm.
you have every position that you've done, have 7 or 8 bullets with each position, and then that's your master one, and that can be 2 or 3 pages. And then when you're applying to a job, say it's a marketing job, have a marketing version of your resume,
Mm-hmm.
have a ticket sales version of your resume, have a finance version of your resume, or whatever you want for the job you're applying to.
Yeah.
So that way, I'm picking and choosing the experiences. I'm building the resume for the job that I'm applying to. And maybe the 7 bullets that I have on my master resume don't all make sense. So I'll only put 2 or 3 of them there or whatever. But I'm customizing my resume for the job that I'm applying to. So that's like, it drove me nuts. Like I didn't even want to like consider someone who had a resume that was more than a page.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And there definitely is resources out there because I've used them. So I don't, people just definitely probably are not utilizing them.
Or it almost looks like laziness because
Yeah,
was it more work to tailor my resume? Yes, it was. But like you got to do it, you know.
exactly.
Like not to like make generalizations about a group of people, but yes, it is more work to do a custom resume for every job that you're applying to.
Mm-hmm.
But like you got to do it. And then another thing that stood out and it, like again, just like something that's kind of like mind-boggling, like if you're applying to a job and mine was on Teamwork Online where you like the job opening was posted there where you answered the questions, like it is inexcusable to have typos. It is 6 questions you had to answer,
Uh,
and if you can't double check it, like that is inexcusable to have typos. Like
yeah.
I'm not saying every email I send is perfect. It's not. I have typos and it drives me nuts when I like reread one of my emails that I sent and I see a typo. But like, if I'm doing a job application, I am checking that 17 times before I hit submit.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Well,
then, sorry, one more thing. I keep cutting you off.
no,
But I
you're
think,
good.
be honest, it's okay to embellish a little bit if you need to. Like, we all do it. Like, a story where you succeeded or your skill set. Like, it's okay to embellish a little bit, but still try and be your authentic self too. Like,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if you end up getting hired, you want to make sure that like the hiring manager knows what they're getting. So I like just be yourself.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that resume advice. It's always helpful whenever you're applying. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Um, I think, I mean, I asked all my questions that I wanted to know, but I guess is there any lasting like bits you have or
Yeah, I try to there's some things that I do try and reiterate with students because I know how overwhelming it can feel. I know is a common theme that just came up in our 37-minute conversation. I'll say 33. I was 3 minutes late for my tech issues, but anyway, it is overwhelming. I know that firsthand.
yeah,
And when someone is offering to you, a professional in the industry is offering like to help you, if you have questions, if you want your resume reviewed, like however I can help you, like take them up on it. One, people don't offer unless they mean it.
hmm,
And two, if you reach out to me and I don't have the time for you or like I need to reschedule, that's okay too. But like if someone's offering and the worst that's going to happen is they either don't respond or you might have to reschedule once or like you have nothing to lose by reaching
yeah,
out to someone. So try and like leverage those connections at least or the speakers like the ones who offer it too because it's a small industry and it's really hard to it can be hard sorry I'm going to rephrase that it can be hard to get started in sports so you got to take every opportunity and every connection that you have
yes,
and I mean it when I say I love reviewing resumes. Trust, like we have summer interns, and I spent like 2 hours on the intern's last day, like reviewing resumes with them. Like we have little like booths in common areas, and I just sat down with them. I'm like, oh, what are you guys working on? They're like, oh, we're all updating our resume, and I just sat there for 2 hours. Yes, it was a very busy day, and I didn't care. I just wanted like I love reviewing resumes, so.
good to know. Good to know.
Yes, take people up when they offer you advice. Don't be shy. Like you can't and again, like I know it's all overwhelming or it can be intimidating. Like how do I reach out to someone? Like do they really mean it? Like you got to ask those questions and you got to network.
Yes, absolutely. I
That's my recommendation.
No, I appreciate you again for doing this. This was very nice, and I'm sure everybody's gonna love it.
Oh, I hope so. I hope it wasn't too boring.